This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
So let's talk about the match. You're face to face, you're smiling at each other, and you mouth to him, "What's with that smile on your face? It's not going to be there after this is over." And Shawn replies, "It'll be there, it'll be there." And you say, "We'll see." Now, none of this is even really picked up on the microphone. I mean, you can sort of read your mouth and say what you're saying. But does this help sort of get you in the mentality for the physicality you're about to do? Or what's the thinking when you're mouthing off to each other, but a microphone is not really present?
Well, your adrenaline is pumping. The match is about to begin. You're fired up, and you have to act like you want to kick his ass.
Right.
So you gotta play it out. You have to say the verbiage. You gotta have the body language. You gotta produce the match. You gotta, make sure everything is intense and believable, especially in a match like this. This was a huge, enormous feature match, and we didn't want to let anybody down. So the emotions were very real. And Shawn with that smirk on his face, I wanted to slap him in the face as it was. I mean, Shawn is a cocky, arrogant son of a gun, and rightfully so. He can back it up. But, you just want to slap him in the face when he does that. He has a certain smirk. It's just a smart ass smirk. And, you want to knock his face off. So I just, I initiated the conversation,
And Shawn
smile's not going to be there after I'm done with you.
To really get you in the mood, Shawn slaps you, and then you guys are off from there. You're shooting for the leg, and we do some mat wrestling to begin, and that's not the way a lot of people probably expected this match to go. What's the thinking in we're going to start and show some amateur stuff to get us started?
Well, I think that we wanted to lay out a good psychological story. We wanted to, even though we were jumping each other, one thing Pat Patterson always told us was, if you get jumped backstage or a week prior to your match, it doesn't mean you have to jump start the match. It means you and him are going to go one-on-one like real men and wrestle it out for the victory. So no matter if someone attacks you and you say, well, I'm not going to go out there and lock up with him. He attacked me, and I'm going to attack him back in that ring. Pat Patterson had a great concept, great psychology about, beating him like a man, and that means to out wrestle him. Yep. So Shawn and I had that concept in our head. We had that idea that we wanted to prove to each other who the better wrestler was, not the better brawler. So that's why we did what we did.
So we start with a lot of mat wrestling, and man, you're flying. A lot of fast, intense movements. It looks very real. And then we'd start to do a little bit of pro wrestling, and eventually you pick Shawn up for an angle slam, but instead of hitting it on the ground, you hit it on the ring post, and the crowd responds. It looks vicious. And Meltzer would say it actually hit his hamstring, but not his lower back. But either way, getting flung into the ring post, fans are going to resonate. I mean, that move's going to resonate with fans. What do you remember about that?
Well, he didn't hit his hamstring. He hit his ass. Yeah. I didn't have him lined up properly, and I went backward, and Shawn, it was a little lower on his body, but it did the job. It made sense. There was nothing wrong with the move, whether I hit his lower back or his ass. I think the fans got the idea of what I was trying to do. But it's a vicious move, and because I didn't hit it right, I never used it again. But it was a great. Actually, Shawn came up with the idea, and we used it because Shawn came up with it, and I thought it was awesome. I said, I could use this as a heat spot anytime I want to stop a wrestler. But when I didn't hit the move right, I decided not to use it anymore. So that was the first and last time I used it.
The fans start a dueling, let's go Angle, let's go Michaels chant. When you're in the ring, in the heat of a match like that, is that something you even hear, or are you sort of blocking out the sound and everything's slowing down? And what is that like inside the ring at that moment?
I don't hear much in that ring, but you have to you can't just focus on the match. You got to show emotion. You got to include the crowd. You need to, have a bigger personality that expands beyond the wrestling ring. And, not doing that would be really, the psychology is you want to include the crowd, and you need to show that, huh?
You got to interact with them.
Yeah. So, but when you're in that ring, you have to pause and include the crowd and then go back to the match. So it's like you're opening one door and then closing it, getting back inside the ring. You're opening the door again to include the crowd, show your emotion and everything, and then get back in the ring. But when I'm in that ring and I'm wrestling, all I hear is myself breathing. That's it. I mean, it's really intense, and I don't really allow the crowd to come in, only when I want the crowd to come in. After I hit a move, I'll get up and do my little dance, and that's the time to acknowledge the crowd. So I try to focus just on my match 100%. But, when at the right time, I come out of that intense, focus and include the crowd.
Let's talk about your breathing for a minute. Shawn goes for a plancha off the top rope onto the floor, and it looks like he almost slips, and it almost looks like his knee hits you in the face on the way down. And for the rest of the match, you're bleeding out of the mouth. What do you remember about what happened there?
Well, he did hit me in the mouth, and I had a big gash in my lip, and it bled tremendously. It just wouldn't stop. I even, at one point in the match, I decided to make it more dramatic. I just started spitting blood out and letting it hang and drool from my lip. We were slowly crawling in the ring, and I was like, this is going to be really dramatic if I just let the blood just kind of fall to the mat while I'm crawling towards Shawn, and Shawn's crawling to me, and we're building up to get started again. And it was after a double down, and it was really cool. The fans got into it, and, I knew it was a really cool scene to look at.
Let's talk about another big moment here in the match. You're trying your first attempt at a German suplex off the ring apron onto the floor. Basically, the spot is you're pulling back as hard as you can, arching your back. The other wrestler, of course, is holding on. Shawn escapes and kicks you onto the table. The crowd reacts because they know something's coming, and it's a springboard moonsault. Shawn lands on you, and the table doesn't break. Carry me through that sequence, because teasing a German to the floor is scary. And then there's the big table spot, but the table's not cooperating.
Well, I believe that's the first time I teased the German from the top, from the rope, from the ring apron.
Yep.
And I got the idea from Johnny Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace. And so, I never really hit the German, but sure, I used it a few times. But it was a great idea to kind of scare the fans and get them on the edge of their seat. And, it's one of those things where you want to, you give them the, you give them the bait, and then you take it away. And we did that, but we gave him the bait when Shawn hit his moonsault on top of me. So it was like, we're giving him the German. They're like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And then he doesn't. He knocks me to the floor, and I end up on the table. And the fans are like, oh man. And then Shawn does the moonsault, and they go nuts. They pop.
Yeah.
So it was a really emotional time in the match, and the table didn't break. Oh my gosh. The worst part about that is you feel every bit of Shawn coming down on you. He's 200 pounds. He's doing a moonsault from 8 feet in the air, probably 10 feet across to where the table is, and you're taking all of it. It was really painful. And, the table not breaking, you want the table to break because it gives. And it takes a lot of the blow away. That's the trick to it. Yeah. And unfortunately, it didn't break, and I got the wind knocked out of me, and was sore for a few days.
So that's the most painful thing that happens in the match, even more so than the knee to the mouth, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, the table spot. Yes.
Meltzer would write of this match. In the ring, Michaels did the nip up and hit the elbow off the top. Michaels went for the super kick, but Angle caught the foot and put him in an ankle lock. Michaels rolled through, but Angle held on. Michaels made the ropes, and then he put the move on again, but Michaels cradled out for a near fall, Angle blocked another super kick, and Angle finally hit the Angle slam in the ring for a near fall. So lots of near falls here. When you were laying out the match ahead of time, are you guys thinking about all of these near falls, or are you just calling all of this in the ring on the fly?
No, we would WrestleMania. You don't want to call WrestleMania on the fly. You have to be prepared.
Right.
Some guys don't have that great of memories, but some guys do. That's, part of the reason you call it in the ring, especially when you're experienced, is because you don't remember as much as you need to. So you just remember the certain spots that you need to, put in the match and structure, and then call everything else. But at WrestleMania, you got to be prepared from beginning to end. You have to, Shawn and I didn't have a lot of the heat called. We would call that on the fly, but we did structure the match, and we had all the false finishes were there on purpose, and they were there to snag the fans a few different times. I thought we did a good job of that, and that's what made that match so special. Was the false finishes were incredible.
You did something else here that you don't normally do. You tinker with your straps a little bit. A lot of old time fans remember Jerry Lawler used to drop the strap, and that meant here comes.
That's where I got it from. I stole from Jerry.
Okay, tell us about that, because here you put them back on, almost like, wait a minute, we're not done. I'm going back in.
Well, I took my straps off earlier in the match, and to show that I was going to end the match, and it was a teaser, of course. And Shawn got out of it, and so my straps were down. We had a few false finishes that we went through, and by the time I got to doing the ankle lock again, I was like, you know what? My straps are already down. I'm going to put them back up. So I put them back up, paused, and took them back down again. So the fans liked it. I mean, they probably were like, what the hell is he doing? And then when I pulled them down, they got it. So it was a pretty cool spot.
You go for the big moonsault. Shawn rolls out of the way. You come crashing down on your chest. And I think you said on the WWE doc that you knocked the wind out of yourself here in that move, right?
Second time I knocked the wind out of myself. After the table spot, this was the second time. Yeah, so it was, the hard part is when you go 30 minutes and you get the wind knocked out of you a couple of times, you're going to get tired a lot faster because you're not breathing. The wind is not in you. So that's why they said you got the wind knocked out of you. So it's hard to breathe. And, at that point in the match, it was pretty damn hard to breathe, especially having the wind knocked out of me.
Shawn goes to the top, but you bounce up and hit the angle slam off the top rope. All the crowd is on their feet at this point. No one is sitting down. Unbelievably, Shawn kicks out and you're screaming at him. That spot where you do the angle slam off the top rope, that's a badass spot that fans still remember to this day.
It is pretty cool. I never knew I could do it. I remember I tried it once in 2003, and I just ran up the ropes and grabbed the guy and angle slammed them, and never practiced it. I never practiced my moonsault either. The first day I did it was in a match against Bob Holly, and the same thing with the angle slam off the top rope. Crazy thing is I never missed it. I always ran up the ropes and hit it, which is unbelievable because it's so easy. When you're wrestling in that ring for 30 minutes, the ropes get sweaty, things get a little, you get tired, and, you might miss a step or, slip on the ropes, and it's really easy to screw up, and to have a focus that you don't screw up and nail that every time is really difficult. But for some reason I was able to.
Major moment here after you have him kick out of the angle slam off the top rope. He eventually gets to his feet. He pushes you back, hits the chin music. He takes forever to cover you, and you kick out at 2.9. Is there anything better than hearing that crowd reaction when you get your shoulder up at the very last part?
No, it's the best feeling in the world. 1, 2, oh! You know what? I was very well known for the 2 9/10 kickouts.
Yes.
actually, 2.9999 tenths kick out. So I was really close to getting pinned many times, but I knew the referee knew not to count the 3. So I always tried to go as late as I possibly could, especially later in the match. There's a psychology, the first false finish, you kick out at 1, maybe 2, then the second false finish, you kick out 2, maybe 2.5. Then the third false finish, 2 9/10.
Yeah.
So you want to, be slower on the kick out. Yeah, build the kick out. So, I was really well known for that. I had a bad or good reputation, not sure. But, even Vince told me, hey, Carl, you need to kick out a little quicker. You're putting pressure on the referees. And he was right. I mean, a lot of fans that didn't like me would say, oh, he was pinned. You should have counted that, So some of the referees did take some of the heat for it.
What's the magic for the last millisecond count out? Unfortunately, someone years ago told me, oh, just watch the guy's eyes and then you can see he's watching the referee. And so now I know, okay, that's not going to be the finish he's watching. But sometimes I wonder, when do you know? Because even if you're watching, there's got to be something you're looking for, a shoulder, an elbow, a hand. What's the magic that you're looking for to know, okay, now's the time?
My magic was not looking.
Really?
I didn't look. No, I listened.
Okay.
1, 2, the third one's coming at the same time lapse in between. Yeah. So 1, 2, kick. I would kick right when the hand would come down. So I didn't watch. I just listened, and it seemed to work for me pretty well. Yeah, I'm sure there were a couple of times where I actually pinned myself, but the referee didn't call it.
Well, eventually you rise from the dead, you pull in the ankle lock, Shawn kicks out multiple times, but you hold on, and then you grapevine Shawn with your legs. The crowd pops big. Shawn's fighting as hard as he can to not tap. It might be the longest ankle lock at this point in wrestling history, but it's great. And eventually Shawn taps. Meltzer gave it 4 3/4 stars. It's 27 minutes, 25 seconds. He called it this year's classic match. The finish made the match significantly better. And most often in big matches, that isn't the case. So the finish is what he really loved. Carry me through what you remember about that match finally coming to an end.
Well, Shawn, he sold that ankle lock. Anyone I've ever seen. It wasn't just that he drew it out. It's the way he sells, the way he gets the people into it, the shaking his arms and his head and grabbing his head and pulling his hair like he's, wants to tap and pretending to tap, and his body starts bouncing, and, he has a great way about selling. That's his strongest suit. And that's a hard thing to say because his wrestling is incredible, but his selling is what makes Shawn. That's what makes him so incredible. That's what makes him the best entertainer of all time. And the match at WrestleMania just proved that Shawn is the best. And I was very thankful to be able to wrestle him and have at least one match with him.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.